How's it going?
I'm gonna if you guys want to tell everybody about the show going on, we can hear you.
Living the dream.
Right.
It wasn't like that. How did you think 24 yet? I guess
We ended up getting P2. It was pretty good. It was stressful the whole time. There was never a break, like to the very end. So yeah, but it was fun.
I thought you was.
You know how much of a hard time I'm gonna have to give him if he comes in late and he says he thought it was at a different time than it was?
Yeah, after you messed up on practice. Or the injury.
After the whole end of the deal.
Yeah, he's still racing right now.
Get up and get a water before this thing gets rolling.
Should have a little bit of time.
Yeah, do it.
As soon as you
Get my headset on. Alright.
Just stepped away to grab water real quick.
Where's it at here?
What up?
There it is. That becomes visible there. All right. All right. Well, we can go ahead and start the actual podcast now, and then we'll be ready for you guys in just a minute. Let us do the introductory stuff,
Let's kick it
and then we'll
off.
jump right into asking you guys some questions.
Kick it off.
Garrett, like the beard, man. Beard bro. Awesome.
Thanks, man. It's a little scruffy. Need a little trim.
Yeah, mine stays scruffy. Everybody says when I shave, I look like I'm 20 years old again.
Fair enough.
All right. Let me get my notes up here.
He's got notes.
He's official.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
I put a lot of work into this interview, and this we got a whole schedule. We got everything here.
I believe it. It's crazy how you start these things and then get halfway into them and realize how much work they are.
Oh, I know. That's like I got zero practice before the official practice for our league race because I was like, this took way longer than I thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna do it. Might as well do it the best you can, though.
Oh yeah, we're trying. This is only episode 2, so we still working the bugs out, but
Hey, no problem. I get it.
it's still kind of a weird transition going from a league race right into this. So I still haven't gotten all my turn this off, turn that on stuff figured out for my stream, the different logos and stuff to change right before because we're really just kind of not totally change gears because we're still talking racing, but all right. You ready, Josh?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's kick this thing off. All right, so tonight we got a few things to talk about. We've got some special guests that we're really, really looking forward to interviewing. So a couple of things we're going to cover tonight is we're going to talk about the 24 hours of Daytona, hence the special guests. And then we got the interview with SM Racing Products team, and Lucas is here. What was your guys' team name, Lucas? I don't even know.
We kind of split it up between me and Lickety Split, so it was like No Sweat Racing, Lickety Split Racing kind of joined
Oh, really?
together. Yeah.
All right. So, and then we're also going to cover the weekly results for the Lucky Dog Racing League, and then Josh is going to tell us what else we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep. So then we're going to take a look at some upcoming races for all our leagues, and then one that's starting here shortly in early February. We're going to do some Q&A with all of our audiences from Twitch, TikTok combined. We'll check after the interview, see if anyone has some questions for you guys. And then we're going to do a new segment at the end called the Gear Up Music Minute. And we're going to talk about some of our music that we like to jam to either before we race, while we race. If you were in the TikTok earlier of mine, you probably could guess a couple of them. But Shane, start us off. Let's jump right in. SM Racing Products and No Sweat Racing. They participated in the 24 hours of Daytona on iRacing over the weekend, and it was spectacle to see.
Oh, it was awesome to watch. So I was fully invested. Like I should get like a team shirt or something because I hated to turn the streams off. Like it was just it was amazing to watch. So, and if you guys are watching this, you are more than likely iRacing fans or racing fans anyway. And this stuff, I mean, it was just, I mean, so Lucas, I know he runs a lot of road when I watch his lives. The SM Racing Products guys, their team was comprised of mostly oval and dirt oval guys, and they went out and dominated the 24 hours of Daytona. It was awesome. So let me get to my questions here. Let me get to my other notepad. Too many notes. So if you guys are ready, we'll just jump right into the interview, and you guys can tell us about your experience. So, one thing I noticed, well, one thing I know has to go into an event like that is a lot of pre-prep, planning, practice, and I got a little insight by watching Garrett's stream because I saw him pulling up an Excel spreadsheet and making notes. And I saw on the
Yeah.
tabs on the bottom that Excel spreadsheet isn't new. So he has notes I saw at least from last year. I don't know how many years they've run it, but I saw notes a tab for last year's 24 as well. So uh, you guys talk a little bit about just the prep and stuff, just the pre-planning to get in, to get to that point.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. Like, Garrett did most of the stent calculations and all of that for the SM team, and he really knocked it out of the park with that. But for us, from a driving standpoint, like 3 of our drivers had to buy the car for that race. So, basically in 2 months, going from a handful of guys that had never ever driven the car, never run any multi-class stuff really, to being able to do what we did, it was a lot. It was, I mean, Roach and Pew both were, I would say they were probably at least 3 nights a week running every week for 2 months leading up to the race. And then, we did some special events together to try and get prepped for that. We ran the Roar. We ran a 6-hour race at Daytona trying to get prepped. It was just a lot of driving, just trying to get ready for it, trying to get used to team events for people that had never done it before.
Oh yeah. Well, when I was in Roach's stream at one point, he had talked about how in like the last month before the event, he had knocked like 15 or 16 seconds off of his lap times, just to
Mhm.
be competitive. And it, just that alone is impressive. But, it's just I know there has to be I knew it had to be a month or more of planning for something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I don't remember the exact dates, but I think pretty much at least 2 months in advance we were sure of who our team was going to be and started prepping for it. And yeah, I mean, Roach took every bit of 10 or 15 seconds off a lap to kind of be there, and those guys worked really, really hard and really put a lot into it, and it paid off. But
yeah.
How about you other guys? What kind of preparation specific to yourself did you put in, not only to improve lap times, but on top of that, the endurance level of that?
Um, for me personally, training with IMSA just during the regular season iRacing, doing official events. Um, I believe me, Brad, and Joe going into this all got a win in an official race at Daytona in IMSA. So just being around the other cars and going up to that, having a lot of practice was our main goal. The team kind of was just last second who was available, really, uh, as far as scheduling. And we kind of threw it together. I know we had a ringer come in at the last second.
Yeah, somebody that had driven the actual real 24 hours of Daytona, from what I
Yeah.
heard.
Yes. So we for us coming together at the last second, I think we did really well. There was a lot of training sessions, coming up to that. But I think for us, or for me personally, doing the official IMSA races are what gets me prepared.
For sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Garrett?
Yeah, I think for me it's just a lot of turning laps. The endurance aspect of it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. I think like I'm used to running longer races, so driving for an hour and a half or so for a double isn't too big of a deal. For me, it's just being consistent, just getting enough laps in and being able to turn consistent laps and get into a flow. There's so much stuff going on when you're passing traffic, and in the middle of the night, you're tired. You don't want to have to worry about thinking about where your breaking points are, or anything like that. Like it just has to be muscle memory, and you have to pay attention during the race, but you want to be comfortable enough driving the car and with the track and where all your marks are and everything like that, that you can focus on traffic and making those decisions and not just how to get around the place.
Sure.
Yeah,
Um,
and so did you set up practice sessions at different times? Because the track changes throughout the course of that event, obviously. And I know one thing that it's hard to emulate is like the marbles that build up. And I'll tell you, the first time my heart stopped watching you guys was when Jeremy looped it around right coming off of the road course on right before he got back onto the speedway. And I don't think my heart started beating again until he was up to speed and probably at the bus stop.
Yeah,
So,
we do a lot of I mean, you practice in the daytime, you practice at night. Daytime's obviously going to be when it's the slickest, so but then nighttime kind of brings in a different aspect to it. It's stuff looks a little different. Luckily, Daytona is really well lit up, so it's not dark like Lamar or something like that. So you can still see where your marks are. But you definitely have to, understand what the car is going to be like on a hot slick track. And we tried to kind of guesstimate what the track temp would be at night and during the day. But yeah, as for the marbles, it's just being careful. And if you're a guy that's never really ran that race before, you kind of don't understand how the track is in the later hours. It gets a lot different than kind of anything you've ever seen, just because it's had so many laps on it, and then the track starts heating up as the sun comes up and daytime moves on the second day.
Yeah, that would be really challenging. So, for those of you that are tuning in that don't know, No Sweat's team managed a second place finish. And I mean, we just heard, it was kind of a team that was put together quickly, last minute, had someone step in. The Racing Products team not only took first, but they absolutely dominated. They led 768 laps total, and then by the finish they had a 10 lap lead, which is just incredible. So I want to hear from each one of you individually, the strategy at the start of it, and then having to adjust that strategy based off the success or where you were running. What was the strategy going in?
So, go ahead,
Go
Lucas.
ahead. Okay. For us, double stints, like that was definitely something, and we weren't too sure on the tires. I know we went for tires just about every time, and it ended up being tires every time. So Ernie started. That was kind of a last second decision, but we were confident with him and his starting capabilities. That was his first time starting at IMSA in Daytona, so he did really well for what we had. But besides that, can you go over the question one more time?
So that was the strategy you started with. How did you
Yeah.
adjust as time went on?
As time went on, the first hiccup, right? The first hiccup, Ernie's computer crashed, and that threw a stick straight into our plans. And from there out, it was kind of we just went with it. We went with the schedule we had, but Joe was updating it constantly, and it it was kind of just by the seat of our pants for a while after that. I got thrown into the car immediately. Luckily, I was sitting there when it happened, and the car kind of towed back to the pits, and I jumped in, and it dropped right into the pits, and I set off. I didn't really have any time to prep myself or get in the mindset, so I was just kind of thrown in. So that was our first really big hiccup.
Yeah, for us, so Shane alluded to the spreadsheet. So I've this is my fourth one I've ran. The first one that I have kind of been like a captain, so to speak. All the other ones that I've ran, I've been more a team member. So I kind of stole that spreadsheet from the guys that we've ran with before, and we have a good relationship with them, and actually did some practice with those guys. Jeremy and I ran with them last year, and we're on a great relationship. We run league races with them and everything. But we build out the schedule, and we try to estimate stint times based on how many laps a stint, what your lap time is, and so on and so forth. And we tried to decide, hey, who's going to start the car, and Jeremy and I had some conversations about what we should do and how we should schedule it, and ultimately decided that we wanted Danny to start Pew Pew America 88, even though he was a little hesitant, I think. But he, from all the practice we did and the New Year's bash that those guys ran, he just has a knack for getting through traffic, and he does a really great job of just seeing everything and getting through it smoothly. And so we felt like he was the guy to do it. So we put him in there first, and he got us out to a great start. And then, we tried to plan in rest time. So we went for doubles. So that way, when you run doubles, you have one tank of fuel to, you're kind of settling in, and then you're hot once that first tank's burned up. And then, after that, you kind of start getting tired. So we tried to build in like 6 hours of rest, give or take, so that way guys could sleep if they wanted to, be out of the car. And so we were able to manage stuff like that. As far as time goes, I have never ran such a quote unquote perfect 24-hour. We managed to stick to our schedule, and we were only like a minute off of our stint times. And so it was kind of crazy because in all the 24s that I've ever ran, and how most people's 24s go, stuff gets messed up. You have to change what's going on, change your strategy in the middle of the race, and just somehow, some way, this one just was perfect, and we kept to our plan, and everything just fell into place.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was interesting, like, we'd planned out, like, we built this schedule. Okay, we know that it's going to get destroyed. It's not going to be accurate. So here's what we're going to do, and we have all the numbers floating around in the back of our head, like we knew how many gallons of fuel it took to replace tires and all those numbers like that. And then we get way into it and it's still right. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to keep going with this, but really didn't expect it to go this way. And as far as the driving, like, I know getting in the car the first time, I think we were fourth when I got in the car. And I was like, okay, just push hard, run hard, see what you can do. And got up to the lead. And then I think the next time that I got in the car, we were 4 laps up, maybe. And I think that might have been the stint that you watched mediocre where I looped it. And that was interesting for me because you do all this prep beforehand, right? And the whole time that you're doing prep, at least I'm telling myself, if I push super hard during practice and just squeeze every bit of speed that I can out of the car, and then when I get in the race, I'll drive 90% and I'll be fine. Well, as it would turn out, when you try to drive 90%, all of a sudden you're braking like you still have all the downforce when you're driving hard and driving the car into the corner really deep, and then you can't do that anymore because you start making mistakes and getting out of whack. So for me, it was like, especially at the end of the race, really struggling because I was trying to be safe but making more mistakes, and then kind of, in my last stint, the last 30 minutes or so, I just decided I got to push. Like, I'm going to wreck the car if I try to not wreck the car. So I just got to go. And that was an interesting development for me. I hadn't felt that yet. I don't know that I'd ever been in that position with a car that relies that much on downforce and had been in that large of a lead to where I was just trying to maintain. So that was a unique thing for me that changed that I didn't really expect to change.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, you've kind of jumped out on the question part, but one of the
Oh,
questions I have is uh talking about patience and traffic, and I even put a note. Jeremy probably won't have anything to say here because it looks like he missed the team meeting about patience. Because
yeah.
you were threading needles, man, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. I tried to be nice, and then I, pretty quickly found out that I wasn't ready to be nice, and so I had to go.
Yeah. So I know Lucas, you talked about how your team was kind of thrown together last minute and stuff. And that's kind of the next question was how you guys decided to put these teams together. And Lucas, I guess you can kind of start us off with how you got an actual real Rolex 24 driver to join your team, if I'm correct, he reached out to you guys, right?
So I believe it was through a post originally through the streamer league.
Yeah.
Posted on there looking for a GTD seat, and I think Brad reached out to me and was like, "Should we?" I'm like, "Yes, definitely yes,
Yeah.
100%."
No
Yeah. How do
question.
you say
And
no to something like that?
and me and Joe, we're kind of like the team captains, and we knew we were gonna do the 24. We've been talking about it like for a year now, and we kind of had an idea for a team. Brad jumped in, and then John, and then Brody, I believe, was last second, and Ernie hopped on last second. But we had like kind of like 3 or 4 guys that were definite, and we got up to a 6-man team at the last part, which was really good for scheduling. I think I maybe did 2 stints. I was originally in for, and I did my first one in the morning, and the second one in the morning the following day. So yeah, it kind of just fell into place over months and months of throwing up practices and seeing who would really show up. Honestly, who's going to put in the time to practice
Oh
and
yeah, I
actually
know.
wants it.
Yeah, I know Joe was constantly putting up practice sessions. I mean, nonstop. He was posting like every day. So, and then SM Racing Products team, like I said earlier, I mean, these are primarily oval guys, and you know, some of these guys, I don't remember if it's Garrett or Jeremy, but one of them runs dirt oval pretty regularly, and you know, they took on this 24-hour race. So, you guys want to talk a little bit about how you decided to put this team together?
Yeah, I don't know if I remember exactly how it happened, Garrett. I kind of think that was in someone's live and said it as a joke, and then they were like, "Yeah," and then I think I remember texting Garrett and being like, "Hey man, I think we need to put together a 24 team."
Yeah, we had talked about it. We knew we were going to run together. We didn't know whether we were going to run with the same people we ran last year. We talked about maybe trying to run with some other guys, but didn't really have anything figured out. And then yeah, I think Jeremy talked to Daniel, and then Daniel brought his teammate Michael on board, and then right at the same time we were talking with Sam, and Sam wanted on board. So then and that was kind of it. We had 5 guys and just started working towards practicing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point there, Lucas, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of the schedule though, but that was the first one that I had ever run with 5 people. You guys said you had 6. I how was it with 6? I don't know. I almost kind of like my 24s to suck a little bit. You know, I'm practicing putting in all this work. I want to spend a lot of time in the car.
It wasn't okay. It was not that bad doing like 2 stints, and I know a couple people did 3 doubles. They probably felt it a little bit more, but a majority of us did 2 doubles. Um, yeah, it wasn't as physically draining. The part for me that was the worst the next day was the headache I got from staring at a screen for 24 hours straight. Because even if I wasn't at my computer, like helping do call outs and whatnot, I was on my phone watching the stream. So I had to recover for at least a day to get like my headache was so bad.
Mm,
Yeah, it can be hard on the eyes for sure.
I gotta adjust my brightness or something.
So I know for me, I would be that guy that would get in the car and be extremely nervous to be the one that takes you out early. You know, makes a mistake, lets the nerves get the best of him, or on the flip side of things, even the one that gets in the car and like, oh no, I just blew a 3-lap lead, or something like that. Um, so how did you guys handle that? Overcome that, quote unquote fear, I guess, or feeling to not be that guy.
I think we're all racers. We're all kind of, it's different levels depending on what you're running. But And like this is a big event, but you're in your league race running for a championship. You're doing this and that. You're running hard against a guy. Like mistakes happen, stuff happens, and you have those nerves. And I think it's normal to have those nerves. But you get in the car, you trust what you've done. You've spent so much time practicing, and that's part of it's what I was saying earlier about not having to think about driving the car, having it all down, so you know exactly what you're doing. You don't have to focus on remembering what you're doing. And by the time you run your out lap and you're a little safe, you're on cold tires, you're managing traffic, and then by the time you get back around, run one lap, run two laps, you're back in the car. It's just driving. You just got to drive. And then once you get that first stint out of the way, that first tank of gas, then you just kind of take a deep breath and you're fine. It's just driving. You've been putting in 100 laps over the last month, 200 laps over the last month. This is just 100 laps over 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, you're good. I was gonna say it's the same way for me. You're super nervous sitting there getting ready to go in, and you get in the car and it's still filling up with fuel and you're nervous, and then you fire it up and I mean it's just like sitting down in a real race car. You fire it up, you pull out on the track, and you kind of switch modes. Everything else disappears and you're running. Is how it was for me, but.
It's quite a feeling when you're getting into the car. I put my gloves on, you sit down, you like hyper focus in. And for me, there he is.
Sorry.
There's Roach. Welcome in, Roach.
For me, I had to follow up Ernie, man, and talk about being nervous. Like I was like, I'm not going to be able to perform. But then his computer crashed, and I kind of got thrown straight into it. So, like I said, I didn't really have time to prepare. But usually, deep breaths, telling myself, you've done this couple or like 100 times already. You've done so many laps here. You've started on IMSA here. You've done this before. So, just like hyping myself up always helps.
Roach, you joined at the right time, man, because
Did I?
Yeah, because this is a really interesting question. So we're talking about like in a team event like that, how do you manage the stress of just like I would be the guy that I would have so much anxiety that I'm the one that makes the mistake that takes the whole team out of the race. And so how do you manage that stress? That's what we're talking about.
I mean, it's a serious problem, right? Like it was a big deal for me to do that because I don't know what I'm doing. Like I've never driven. I have 3 road wins, and one of them is the 24. So
really?
I'm not that guy, It's I'm just not that guy. So when I went into it, like anytime I got in a car, I was so nervous. And you're not like, especially when you're cold going into it, right? Like,
Right.
for Danny, like he qualified the car and ran at 5, and then he didn't run again until 5 in the morning, and that's like absolutely nerve wracking because especially the first time I got in the car, we were only 20 seconds ahead, and that was like a big deal to me, was not to let that gap close.
Right.
And then when we went to when I came back into the car, we were like 4 laps ahead or something. So it was a little bit less stressful, but still you still don't want to stuff the car and ruin a race for everyone, So,
Right.
and I have zero experience.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about that at the beginning, how I was in your stream when you said in the last like month before the event you had knocked like 15 or 16 seconds off of your lap times.
Yeah, I went from I went from I think when I started, I don't even remember when we got on board with everything, but when it started and it was me going from nothing to the race, like I was running like a 155 or something, and I had a number in my head that I wanted to get down to. I wanted to get down to a 132. And so I would just, after I was done doing everything, I would just log in and just turn laps and just click them. And that would be the thing I would do at night, would be just to get in the car and do 2 hours of practice and just click laps off. And eventually I got down to that number I wanted, and that number didn't matter because I didn't run one of those laps the whole race. So it was pretty useless.
Yeah, but
it,
one of the reasons you probably didn't, and it's leading into our next question, and Jeremy, this is the one you'll probably want to sit out for. Having the patience to deal with traffic. So Lucas, you guys weren't in the top class, right? So you had the faster cars passing you, and then the SM Racing Products team, they were having to deal with all the lower classes and manage that traffic. And there was a few times where that looked a little sketchy because you catch them when they're in the heat of battle with each other, and it can get sketchy quick. So, I would have to beat myself in the head with a hammer to remember to be patient and not just force the issue.
So
I was gonna say, I know that's got to be tough at times to do.
So I think this is my first time running the fastest class. So I'm used to. I had experience before, seeing it from the GT3 class and getting past, and so I think that helps when you do get into a faster class because you understand where you want to be passed. What am I like? What is that GT3 driver thinking as I'm coming up on him? And so there's certain spots where, I mean, it's kind of an unwritten rule, but usually you kind of know where a good spot to pass is. What line should I pass on? Should I pass left here, right here, so on and so forth? What's a good spot? It was a little different because we had a good lead and we were trying to keep the lead, so we didn't have to be super aggressive on passing. I know Jeremy was, but so we were able to manage it a little bit differently. But there's still certain spots, and you just have to be careful. You have to be aware of your surroundings. At night, it helps a lot. Being able to flash. The slow class guys hate that. I hated it when I drove the slower class car. But it does come in handy because it's like, hey, I'm going to take this now. I'm flashing you. That means I'm going. And so I don't know. It's just something you have to manage and you get used to it, and it takes practice. It's not something that you just hop into a car and understand where and when, because you really have to manage like this spot, that spot. I need to time my runs. Like if I'm coming up on a GT3 in the bus stop, you kind of have to slow down your entry because you're trying to get a good run on exit so you have speed back around 3 and 4 of the NASCAR oval. But it's just something to get used to, and you figure it out.
I flashed everybody. I didn't care. If you were slower, you were getting flashed. I was not wrecking the car because somebody didn't see me. So everybody got the flash.
And then Lucas, you were on the other side of the coin where you had the faster classes flashing you.
Right.
So I'm not a road guy, but I follow a lot of different types of racing, and which it goes for all forms of racing. And you guys that are on iRacing, whether it's ovals or whatever, my tip to you is be predictable. Don't suddenly change lanes thinking you're getting out of the way because they've already committed to a line and that's where they're already probably going. So I know Lucas, you run a lot. Lucas, you run a lot of road. Is that pretty much the standard? Just maintain your line.
If be predictable, like if you're gonna make a move, make the move. Don't hesitate. Like be decisive. Like if you're going to the outside, you see you got some room behind you, jump to the outside early. Say I'm gonna be over here, so you go on the inside of me. Like communicate with the other driver, like what you're wanting to. Don't be like indecisive. That's how you get into crashes.
Right.
That's probably bad for us because we turned off the voice chat in the beginning and never turned it back on. So
Yeah.
we were tired of hearing people complain, and I looked at
Yeah.
everybody as a rolling chicane anyways, and I was expecting them not to move. So
We
if
also
they
got,
moved, it was a bonus.
We also got really lucky. We had a really good split. There wasn't a ton of carnage, and a lot of people were super respectful. And I've even seen stuff on Facebook afterwards, people posting about our split, and numerous people that, I mean, we don't even know, commenting on there like, yeah, this was a really great split. So some of it is just having good people around you and
Mhm.
kind of, trusting each other, even though you don't have anything to base that on.
For
Well,
sure.
that and you guys were hyper aware of certain cars too, because I during the streams I would hear you call out, all right, we're coming up on this car. We
Right.
had an issue with them last time, so be careful, tread lightly.
We actually
Yeah,
have
I
a
think
question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I was just gonna say I think you picked that up anywhere. Like we
Yeah, oh, yeah.
practice so much on so many different tracks that or so many different track temps and stuff that we knew we kind of had an idea of what our car was gonna do around the GT3 traffic and like but once you start seeing those problem cars and it's obvious that they're a problem car, we had so many spotters at different parts of the track, and I think that helped us a lot. I don't think a lot of people did that, and that caused a lot of problems because we were able to see accidents develop up the track versus one spotter watching just the car.
Yeah, that was one thing I
So
did notice was how you guys you had somebody watching the car from above all the time, and you also had like a spotter going ahead and checking out everything for like a
Mhm.
half a lap ahead, looking for any kind of issues.
That's a really good
Yeah.
idea.
I,
Some insight there. That's cool. Go ahead.
all I was gonna say is I think to add to what like I know that I did not have the patience here, but I think
Oh
that
man, I was just messing
I
with you,
know.
man.
I think that part of the reason I was able to be so aggressive is like Garrett and I ran the Watkins Glen 6 hour together, and I cannot understate how many times I wrecked myself trying to pass people. It was awful. It ended up turning into the 18 hours of Watkins Glen. We didn't finish a single race. It was terrible. But I think having that experience and when I was prepping for the Glen this summer, I pretty much did all of my practice in test driving. And so then I took from that and kind of knew, okay, I got to learn how to deal with traffic. And it almost became muscle memory to where you come up on a guy and you just know, like, I should be able to go here. And 9 times out of 10, they let you by right there. And so it looks super aggressive, but really it's just you've passed a
Right,
thousand
right.
GT3 cars, you know?
Because you're always offline. You're not
Yeah,
always on the
yeah,
perfect line when you're passing.
Yeah.
yeah.
We
And I think
actually,
that's what happened. I think that's what happened to Jeremy when he looped it was he got in that marbles on the right side coming
Yeah.
off, and that it just skated on him. I think.
Yeah, it was I think it was a combination of that and just I was moving so much slower than normal, and I didn't have the downforce anymore. Tried to use the same amount of brake, and she wasn't having it.
Right.
so we have a
we
question
only had like oh go ahead.
in my Twitch for Lucas specifically, someone that watched your stream during it. How hard was it trying to keep it together when you kept getting caught up in other people's mistakes during the last couple hours?
Oh, that's well, you kind of expect it in the last couple hours. That's when everyone's super tired. And like y'all were mentioning, is when the track's probably in the worst state. Um, because it's starting to heat back up. You got all the marbles on track. So the last couple hours, we dialed back our pace a lot, I think, and just made it consistent. Made sure we could survive because uh, we had, I think, a lap up on the car behind us going into the last couple hours. So we really had to just make sure we made it to the end.
For sure. Cool. Thank you for asking and thank you for answering, Lucas.
Yeah, guys in my chat, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. I've got my text to speech turned off so you won't interrupt anything, and I'll make sure to get to your question before we let these guys go.
I think the marbles were a big problem. I don't know how it was in the GT3 car, but we couldn't see them from the car.
We have a lot more mechanical grip, so it's not as bad. Like I know you
Okay.
said going out onto the oval was where
Yeah, the
someone caught
outturn.
out. Yeah, that's such a hard because I've driven the GTPs there, and that's such a hard turn. Getting onto the throttle can really mess you up. So I know we can actually pass some of the GTP cars going out onto the oval if they run a bad line, but like once the straightaway goes and the downforce kicks in is when y'all. So it's really like a give and take. You really got to know where the cars advantages are.
The GT3s can really go deep into the corner compared to
Mm-hmm.
the GTPs. Like surprisingly.
So then, now that
And
you
it-
guys have seen some success in your specific teams, and congrats, by the way, again on the first place finish and second place finish for you guys. Are there any other plans in the works for more of those types of races coming up?
Well,
Yeah, we're gonna try and do a lot of the ones coming up. I know me and Joe and Ernie and our little group, we got together. We were pretty happy with our results, so we're all road racers. We were gonna do Spa probably and Bathurst. I know I want to do Nürburgring. So we'll see who shows up for the practices, and that'll determine which ones we do.
I think we were talking. Me and Garrett are in the early talks of doing Bathurst, but
Bathurst is gonna be fun.
I've only done it in a supercar, and I can get around it okay in a supercar. So I'm assuming that the all the aids on the GT3 will be significantly easier than the supercar.
Yeah, I love Bathurst. It's one of my favorite tracks. I've ran 1 or 2 12 hours now and won 1,000. So looking forward to that one. And I think that Roach and I will probably put a team together and we'll see what we can do.
It's scary, but like on one hand, like we were saying, we're a little bit. It would be different. Like I don't mean to like we already got a first place finish at Daytona, so like whatever happens. Like, it's a little bit. I think you get the Super Bowl out of the way, and all the others are, Ricky Stenhouse didn't win a race besides the Daytona 500, and I'm sure he felt pretty good at the end of the season. And it's like that. Like, who cares?
Good way to start off, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know that I have any others planned outside of, Watkins Glen this summer, but Garrett and I were talking the other day, and I really hope that we are able to keep that team that we won the 24 with together and do more events with them, because I think that was a really solid group of drivers and, group of teammates, really more than drivers, that knew how to work together and worked well.
Yeah, it was like watching art. I mean, everything just seemed to just fall in place. Like everything was just choreographed and planned. Like it just didn't seem like you guys missed a step anywhere.
I wish I could have been in the other drivers' heads when they saw like Michael with a 600 road I rating passing them and me with an 800 passing them, and we're out there leading, stacking laps on people. And like, I have 2 Mazda wins and that's it. And then I only own the supercar and the GTP. Like, those are the only 2 road cars I have. I've never experienced like traction control or like like all these adjustments that you can make. I told these guys, is like, set the car up how you like it and I'll learn how to drive it and not touch anything and just beat it around.
Cool.
So,
yeah, that's a good strategy.
Yeah,
I can only imagine those guys looking us up.
Yeah.
Oh well, I saw there's a lot of social media posts about they're asking for people to be DQ'd because they think they tanked their I rating to get in lower splits.
Jeremy and I talked about this. Each one of our teammates, other than maybe Michael, I don't know if he really ran any road official stuff leading up to it, but Jeremy, myself, Danny, and Sam, all of us gained I rating before the 24. Like I ran a lot of HPD races at Daytona, gained a bunch of I rating. Jeremy gained a bunch of I rating. Danny gained a ton of I rating because he had never really ran anything road before, and he was trying to get his license up to run this thing, and so he gained a bunch of I rating. So yeah, we We definitely did not tank our I ratings and
Oh
from
no, I wasn't alluding to that
Oh,
at all. Because
I'm not-
I
I'm
know
not
I know
saying-
I know you guys. I know a lot, almost all the guys on your team, and I know they're all primarily oval guys. My
Yeah.
I don't think I
my
get to
my
tank
road
mine anymore, anyways.
yeah my road I rating is in triple digits because unless the NASCAR schedule's there, I'm typically not on them.
And then I eventually quit out of the NASCAR race and never run it again until it comes back
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Like,
I have
Yeah.
one class win, and it's in the Kia, and it's because I was the only one that finished. The leading Kia DQ'd on the last lap, like 2 corners from the finish line, and I was at 16x when I got there, and 17 is DQ.
Guys,
I mean,
before
that's-
we cut you loose, I wanted to talk business a little bit, right? So you're the SM Racing Products guys, but tell us a little bit about the products, the website, how you got started with it, all of those types of things.
Don't go
Promote
too
yourself.
deep though, because we're having you back next week for our Tech Talk episode.
Yeah, don't get
So
crazy.
just a little teaser now.
Teaser.
Jeremy, you want to take that?
Yeah, I can. Just a little teaser. So yeah, I mean, we'll delve into it more, but Garrett and I just kind of started it because we wanted to build ourselves stuff. And we can tell you more about that next week. But we kind of started it that way, and now we have sm-racingproducts.com, and we got a handful of different products over there. We got a couple that we're getting ready to come out with, at least one of which we can talk to you about next week, and a lot of different stuff going on. It's been a lot of fun. Garrett and I joke about this quite frequently, but we say that if SM closed its doors tomorrow, worst case scenario is that we spent a bunch of hours doing something we enjoyed and we made a bunch of friends.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Right on.
And I think, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I mean, we're excited to have you guys back next week. I know we're going to take a deep dive into all those different products and some of the different things we like, don't like, just as far as iRacing setups. But for those of you watching, if you haven't checked out their website, please check it out. It is sm-racingproducts.com. Some awesome products on there. I'm going to get myself some here soon. Make me feel more of like a real racer. I won't be looked down upon by some of the streamers. Just kidding. That doesn't happen, I don't think. But yeah, we really appreciate all you guys coming on, taking the time, the amount of time on top of that. But once again, congratulations to you guys on your amazing finishes and the endurance that it takes to go through that. And thank you so much for joining us for better part of an hour to talk about everything.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. And let's go box by box. You guys can throw out your socials. We'll start with, I'm assuming, I'm new to this Discord stuff, but I'm assuming everyone's in the same order. We'll start with Garrett, and then we'll just go down the line.
Yeah, so my name is Garrett Streets. I guess you know that, and not really particularly need that. But you can find me on Discord at, I don't know what my Discord name is, _Streets15. Every once in a while, I'll go live on Twitch. I think some people have kind of enjoyed me doing that. So
he was so excited when I followed him. He was like, "I have a follower on Twitch."
Yeah, I don't really do it a whole lot. It's more so just so like friends and family can check out what's going on. But
honestly, that's how I started streaming.
I've had a few guys in there, so I'll try to go live more on there. And then SM Racing Products social media, you can find us at SM Racing Products, no dash, just the letters, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yep. I'm not on a ton of social media. My name's Jeremy Morrow. You can probably locate me on Facebook if you look hard enough. I think you can find me on Instagram, jmorrow74. But yeah, pretty much all of the SM stuff that Garrett went over would be my social medias.
And I'm Lucas Schimmel. I go by No Sweat Racing on TikTok and YouTube. I stream every day on TikTok, so you can catch me on there. And yeah, that's about it.
Roach.
Roach with Roach's Race Room. Roach's Race Room everywhere. Onlylefts.com for all my links.
Right
Oh
on.
yeah, I almost forgot about Only Less. I'm glad you threw that in there.
Only
You can get
lefts,
sweet
man.
shirts there.
It's
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
you
card.
get those shirts. I got a code for SM.
Oh my god. Oh, my son. Every time you get a follower and that sound goes off, my son was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "He's a good dude. I promise you, he's a good dude."
He's just weird.
Yeah.
I think it actually goes that's the reason why Jeremy followed him was because he heard somebody do that and Jeremy thought it
Yeah.
was great.
No,
Yeah.
that's 100% how we started following Roach. I think I was on the official SM TikTok and I heard someone do it and I was like, what happened that made that sound? So then I started trying to interact and figure it out, and that's how we ended up.
Jeremy's gonna sit there and unfollow and follow and unfollow and follow just to get the sound to go off.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Who knows why, right?
Yeah, yeah. That just means there's a lot of people out there just as strange as you are, brother.
Yep. I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and cut you loose. We appreciate it. USM Racing, guys, we'll see you back next week. Probably around the same time. Sounds to me like we might be talking about a new product, which is exciting. And then, of course, we'll talk about all the existing ones. But y'all have a good rest of the evening, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, I
Yep.
appreciate it. And again,
Thanks for
congrats,
having me.
man. Like it was so much fun just watching you guys. I mean, I was stressing for you, all of you. And I was like, I'm like,
It's
if
stressful.
if that car they're coming up on just slips a little bit, they're screwed and they're running well. So yeah, it was yeah, my heart stopped twice. And once was Jeremy and once was Roach. When two in the same spot, but Roach didn't spin, but two cars wrecked in front of him, and one of them didn't lock their brakes down, which is my biggest pet peeve,
right?
and almost rolled into your door.
He must have missed me getting T-boned.
Yeah, he must have. My heart stopped
Yeah,
there. I thought we were cooked.
Yeah, no,
We only-
I didn't see that.
I mean, we only had like maybe 30 seconds of optional damage the whole time.
Yeah, it was that hit that
So-
Garrett took was hard though. I don't know
That was
how
the scariest.
Yeah.
Grumpy Yeti says
Well,
he was
it
a
all
he,
worked
he
out.
Grumpy Yeti goes to he does like historical carpentry. And he's a good guy. He's a big supporter of all of us streamers too. And he says he was watching the stream while he was in school for that. And the whole class looked at him. the first follow Roach got and the sound went off.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with it. It's like I'm not super
Yeah,
family
that's
friendly,
a-
but I'm
that's
not
an-
not
that's an
family
NS
friendly.
NSFW, man. You don't do that. You don't watch that in
Yeah.
public. I was watching it in
Yeah.
public, but I had my volume way, way, way down.
Gotta have it turned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not bad, but it's not good. Like
Yeah. No, it's just if
it's just there.
if you haven't heard it before, it's just very unexpected.
Yeah, you're definitely not expecting it.
Yeah.
I think that's what got me about it. I was like, what did that say?
Yeah.
And then every
Yeah.
200 likes is a different version of it. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
But-
all right, guys, I appreciate it. It's been
Hey.
great hanging out with you all.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Yep. We'll see you
Yeah,
later.
no
Thank
problem.
you.
alrighty,
see ya.
guys.
See you guys.
Take care.
You too. All right, cool. So that was the guys from SM Racing Products and No Sweat or Lickety Sweat Racing Team, I believe it was, for the 24 Hours of Daytona. So cool to have them on, man.
Yeah, that was neat.
Right.
I really enjoyed that interview because their accomplishments got them here, but they're just such a good group of guys anyway. Like every one of them, I've ever since they've popped into my live, I pop into some of their lives, and like immediately it's just like you just click, and it they're just mellow. I'm pretty mellow, so it's just like, just a great group of guys.
Yeah, they're cool dudes. I liked, as I'm sure our audience did, I like getting all the insight and kind of what was going on in their minds. So that was cool. Like I mentioned before, they'll be back next week to talk some more about their business. That took a little bit longer than we had planned for, but that's okay. We kind of figured it would. We're going to just jump right back into Lucky Dog Racing Series, and we won't discuss too in depth about the finishing of people, things like that this week since that interview went so long. But no shock, Caleb Sisk won the late model race. Shane, you were in that. There was a whole issue with
So
iRacing. Tell us about that.
yeah, so the league has grown, and the late models are the like feeder league into the top dog series. So you have to prove your racecraft there before you get promoted to other series. Well, there's been a huge influx of people interested in joining the league, so the car count is higher, and a lot of these short tracks, I think it really confuses iRacing when there's that many cars on such a short track. You know, when there's 20 plus cars on a quarter-mile track, it doesn't know how to handle it. So F Bomb and Drafty got together because we had the same issue. So it was at Slinger, and then there was another track we were at that it did the same. The one we were just at. Where were we just at?
South Boston.
Drawing a. Oh yeah, South
Yeah.
Boston. So, and we had the same issue where it was messing the scoring up because it was when the caution would come out, it was putting like half the field a lap down. So, there's going to be a new late model format. So, we'll be at Langley this coming Sunday, which is a 0.39 mile track. So, it's another really small track. But the new format for the Lucky Dog League, the late models on Sundays, there will be no cautions thrown by iRacing. All cautions will be thrown by race control, which will be Drafty Beef and F Bomb.
Yep.
So practice will be 20 minutes, qualifying 4 minutes, or you got 4 minutes to put in your 2 laps. And then the top 12 in qualifying advance to the feature. Now after qualifying, there's going to be 2 10-lap heat races, and the top 2 finishers from those 2 heat races transfer into the feature.
That'd be cool.
So, in max field size for the heat races are 14. So, we're not at that high a car count yet, so everyone should be covered as far as heat races goes. But there will be no caution flags during the heat races, so it's going to be drive through the smoke.
Yeah.
So, and then the feature is going to be 80 laps. The max is 16 cars on the track. They're also implementing a red flag rule. So, if race control calls out a red flag, everyone is to stop on the track where they are and let race control sort out the grid, and they'll call you out one by one to line you up correctly for the restart.
Cool.
And then so that's about the late models. And then of course we had the Mud Dog series last night. I don't run that.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that.
Yes, so there wasn't a broadcast for it. Drafty Beef, shout out to him. He got a win. He was already leading in points in that, but with the win, obviously he builds on that. That short 4-week series ends next week at Volusia Speedway Park. So that'll be fun to watch. Make sure you tune into that. Hopefully there's a video. Kenny says Drafty held up his end of the deal. Was it to win one of those races? I can't remember.
Yeah, Donovan. I really like the new format, but Donovan Miller in my chat says it sounds like a cool format, and I really do think it's going to help the series, and I do like the format. The only thing I don't like about it, and it's a me problem, not a format problem, is I'm probably going to run a lot of heat races and not many features because I am not a good qualifier in them cars.
It is a cool format. Shout out to F Bomb and Drafty. They're always doing their best to be conscious of the issues and what needs to change and how to change them. This is a step in the right direction to fix those issues that you get typically with a higher car count. I think it'll make it a little bit more competitive. It'll add some racing to it. I have always enjoyed the heat races. There was before you joined Lucky Dog, Shane, there was one race where there were like 25 entrants or something like that in the late model stock race, and they used to run them on Monday nights, I believe, or
Right.
Wednesdays. Anyway, um, and they did heats, and it was a lot of fun. It mixed up the starting lineup as well because there wasn't qualifying that night. It was just directly into a heat race. Um, and so it gave a lot more people an opportunity to start up front, be competitive right from the get go. Took away that, high quality qualifying type thing.
Right.
Kenny says to stay first in points. Yeah, he absolutely did that. So congrats to Drafty there. Now, let's go into tonight's truck race, Shane, or truck race.
And
Top
truck
dog.
race.
Top dog race.
I wish it was a truck. I
Sorry.
probably would have ran a little better.
I'm living in the past,
Uh,
man. The Elite
yeah. Well,
100.
hold on. So Donovan Miller was asking, does Lucky Dog run on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? Unfortunately, not. Their 3 series run on Sunday, late models, Monday. Actually, it'll change. Monday will change. So they've only got one more week of the Mud Dog series because that changes every 4 weeks.
I think they're
So
going to keep it on Mondays though, but yes, it could
yeah,
change.
no, it'll be Mondays, but I don't know that I don't know
Oh,
that
I
it'll
see.
be dirt.
Yeah.
They're gonna change the series up every 4 weeks.
Yep. Lucky Dog
So
runs Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then Tuesday is their top dog series, which right now is in the 87s, so it looks like a school bus race out there the way they plow.
It's man, it was rough. That turn one in Texas tonight
Oh
was
yeah,
getting
I could
everybody.
not. Yeah, I could not get it to turn there. It would just plow up the track no matter what I mean, I could get it to turn, but I'd have to be so incredibly slow that my lap times were horrendous when I could get it to actually hook up and turn.
Yeah, and you
So,
you got stuck in some more bad issues that weren't
yeah,
yours.
yeah. Well, I mean, right at the start of the race, there was someone someone missed a shift, or they said their car wouldn't shift or something, and the car in front of me took off kind of slow, and I was starting on the inside, and
What's up, Casey?
he took off kind of slow, so I moved up to the high line because I didn't want to run him over,
Yeah,
and the high line is where the guy couldn't shift, so we all ended up parked right there,
yeah.
and I got a little bit of damage there, and then immediately following that, Drafty Beef was in that wreck too. He was the car, I think, right behind whoever couldn't
Ah,
shift.
bummer.
And so uh both of us were coming around to catch the field, and I was just driving behind Drafty, and uh next thing you know, Drafty's slamming on the brakes, and all of a sudden his car just hooks sideways. So I jam on the brakes and I jerk the wheel to not plow into him, and it sent me right into the back of the field that was pacing.
Yeah,
And I hit a couple of cars back there, and I mean, I hate that it happened, and I definitely not something that typically happens in that series period, but I think the way the biases were set on those cars, anytime you had to get on the brakes hard, it looped you around.
yeah,
Uh
and I mean, you apologized. Obviously no intent behind it.
right,
We're
right.
seeing a lot of those things in the first three races in the Top Dog series. Why? Because last season it was called the Elite 100, and it was in the trucks. That's where I went off and said, "Oh, the truck race tonight." Uh,
Yeah.
but the 87s are a challenge. There's a lot of differences. You're going back, 40 years, right?
Yeah,
At
yeah.
this point almost. So,
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of differences in the way that thing drives and controls,
Right,
brakes. I
right.
mean, every single thing about it. And we're seeing that because last week at Bristol, there was a long green flag run, but there were quite a few cautions
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
in a fairly small field.
And
This
I'll be
week,
honest. I'll be honest. I would gladly take another Bristol over having to run Texas again in that car
yeah,
because
that
turns 1 and 2
man,
were miserable.
it was rough. I don't know how I qualified P3 because I mean, I even said it like
Oh yeah, I
somehow
saw
I
your
found speed there, and then I didn't have it anywhere close to that the whole race. I was never anywhere close to that.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I just could not. I mean, just the front grip difference going into 1 and going into 3 was night and day. Like I would go into 3 and like you could actually feel it. Like my wheel would stiffen. You could feel the front tires just grip and go.
mhm.
And it was almost like a point and click at that. Like as soon as it did that, you knew you were back on the gas and you
Yeah,
were gone.
yeah,
You get to turn 1, and no matter what I did, man, in front tires would skate,
yep.
skate, skate, skate.
Yeah, way different. Kenny says we should do Bristol every week. No shock there. He likes that, right? Because he won
Yeah.
last week. But we do have a new winner in the Top Dog Series this week. Kenny won the first two. Caleb Sisk, typically a late model Lucky Dog Series driver, and in fact, I believe a late model pro, joins the Top Dog Series this week, gets his first win in his first race in a tough one at Texas. Now
Yeah, there was
points.
definitely a lot of chaos in that race.
There was, man, and you could tell too that everyone was struggling in their own ways because this is typically a series where there's not a lot of arguing, fighting, finger pointing, name calling, whatever.
Right, right.
Uh, and people were losing their cool tonight. It
Yeah. Oh
was
yeah. Yeah. Well,
tempers
that
were higher.
and it one thing it goes back to the cars being so unstable under braking. Uh, there was a wreck that happened. It was probably a half a straightaway in front of me, and I was far enough behind it where I was able to just ease into the brake and start slowing down. There was someone about halfway between me and where the wreck happened, and they had to get on the brakes a little harder, and it immediately turned them sideways on the straightaway, and they ended up driving down right in front of me.
Yeah.
Of course, my angry racing gods are still punishing me for some reason,
Yeah,
and stuff like that tends to happen.
you gotta get right with iRacing Jesus, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
but yeah, so congrats to Caleb Sisk there. Points are not out for that yet, I don't believe. Let's take a quick look. We can break the news here on the points, and no, they are not. Shout out to Kenny though. Jesus, grumpy. Uh, he put up $15 to the winner of each 12-week season in the Top Dog. That is really cool because this is not a money league. None of us paid to be in it.
Right.
And, as as everyone else out there listening knows, each track is $15, each car $12, like, hey, cool. Sponsorship, to put something up. So shout out to him. Shane, we're gonna move quick uh through the Lucky Dog series because I mean we covered everything, but no need
Yeah.
to go through each one in points or anything crazy this week. But go ahead and tell us what we got coming up next week, and on actually tomorrow too. What do we got going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Stream team.
That's not tomorrow. That's day after tomorrow.
Thursday. It's Tuesday. Where am I, man?
That's what happens when you get a Monday off. See,
I'm all thrown off.
or you were off today, weren't you?
Off today. Yep. I'm still
Yeah.
whatever.
So, the Lucky Dog Racing League is really the only league I'm in aside from the Stream Team Racing League, which I would hope by now you guys are all familiar with. But if you're not, that is all pretty much any streamer you can think of And oh, it must be nice, Donovan. It's your Friday at work. But
Jeez, I'm jealous.
yeah, I know, right? But it's pretty much any streamer and every iRacing streamer that you can think of. And we get together on Thursdays and we put together a league so you can jump to your favorite streamer, and it's basically a field full of in-car cameras, and we run the Xfinity cars. And this week it is at I just had it up. Hold on. We are at wrong one. That's the questions we are at. Oh, oh. I might be a little sick this week. I don't know if I'll be able to make the race
Where are we?
Thursday.
Where are we racing?
Watkins Glen
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Xfinity cars.
I'll be out. I would be.
Yeah, I wonder if
No.
they'll just let me drive the pace car.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Tune in to
Ugh.
most of your
I'll-
favorite streamers.
I'll be there because I'm just glutton for punishment.
All
But
right.
I'll
right.
be there. I'll be there and I'll be in it.
Okay.
Just
I'll be
because-
watching Shane's stream then. I
Yeah,
probably won't
yeah.
venture
They're gonna need
out
to
that
put.
way.
I'm gonna look into iRacing and see if I can have them equip my car with all-terrain tires for that race,
Yeah.
because I got a feeling I'm gonna be doing a lot of mowing grass and driving through sand.
Yep. I would be that exact way. And then, do you have it up where we're going to next week for Lucky Dog?
Lucky Dog series next week is the Top Dog series is at Talladega.
Oh, very nice. I like that.
No,
That'll be a fun one.
Have you ever driven the 87s at Talladega?
Once. There's no like
They're-
bump
they're-
drafting, but
No, they're it's not. Well, the one good thing about it is it's not going to be pack racing.
Yeah.
So it's because those cars are unrestricted, so you're doing like 215 going into the corner, and you actually have to lift
Yep.
once your tires get a little bit of wear on them.
yep.
So that'll be interesting. That's going to come down to it's going to come down to who takes care of their tires, because it's super easy to fry the right front. I've run actually quite a few of the 87s races at Talladega, and that right front will cook quick at those speeds going into the corners. So
Mhm.
so that's going to come down to tire management and just who can keep the car turning.
I feel like so
So,
much with
little-
the 87 comes down to the tire management.
Oh, it does because but the other thing is like I told you, and like I talked to Jeremy about, and you both said it helped you a lot, was making sure you have your brake bias adjustments ready and assigned, because in those cars it makes such a huge difference
Yeah.
in handling throughout the course of a run, because they get so tight. So you want to dial your brake bias down so you can actually use the brake to turn the car. And without that, man, that thing is just a dump truck going into the corners on old tires.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, that brings us to a new segment we're gonna run this week called the Gear Up Music Minute. We're gonna start this week. We'll have different themes, but of course, sticking with racing, we're gonna talk about some of the music we might listen to. Feel free to shout out your favorite song to listen to before you race or while you race. Shane, lead us off, man. What do you get pumped to?
Oh man, so I mean, I'm a music guy anyway. Like, I listen to a ton of different kinds of music. Country is always it's always been my go-to. Like, it's my mainstay. But there's a few different ones. I mean, obviously, Danger Zone, that gets you pumped up, whether
Yep.
you're on a highway drive or getting ready to jump on iRacing. That one, that's a timeless classic for driving.
Yep.
And then, so many moons ago, there was a CD that came out I believe it was called NASCAR Running Wide Open.
Okay.
And there are some songs on there that I'm willing to bet a lot of people haven't heard. So the one that everyone probably has heard is the Charlie Daniels Stroker Race theme. That the theme to that movie. That's a great racing song that I like to listen to. It's and all these songs are on my Spotify playlist, and so they shuffle through regardless of what I'm doing. Uh the other one, this is gonna be a little bit of a hot take, I think, because I know a lot of people they dog Billy Ray Cyrus because the achy breaky heart days. But there's a song that I bet not many people have heard of unless they're as old as me and was as big into racing as I was back then and have that CD, The Fastest Horse in a One Horse Town. And it's about a local racer making it big and how he struggled and how they snubbed his nose. The pro drivers snubbed their nose at him when he first got there, and then he goes in and kicks all their asses, and it's an awesome song.
Okay. I'll have to listen to it. I got two main ones. I mean, obviously, I listen to a lot of music, but one of them, Hell's Bells by AC/DC. That one always gets me going. Our Tuesday night league, typically I work, so on my way home, I'll turn that in the car. I get home right when practice is about to start, so flows right in. And then Ba Wada Ba by Kid Rock. That's always a good.
Yeah. Oh
That's a
yeah.
good one
That's a
too.
pump you
Get
up.
fired up. Yeah,
Yeah, mid tier. You missed that segment already.
I've jammed out to that when I'm like drag racing somebody in my Corvette. So, that's.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
anyone shouting
just
out any music, man?
not really.
No, me either.
What do you guys listen to? But I will tell you something that you guys probably don't something you guys probably else I can't talk. Something else, another song you guys have probably never heard that's on that CD is Kyle Petty recorded a song about
Okay.
O King Richard, and it's talking about he wrote a song pretty much praising his dad, Richard Petty, and it's on Spotify. Surprisingly enough, it's on Spotify, and it's different. It's kind, I mean, if you've listened to Kyle Petty interviews, he's got kind of a different voice, but he's kind of Jeff Gordon-y, but uh, but it's a really good song. And mid tier says '90s country, Southern gospel, and K Love.
While he's racing?
Uh,
All right.
it's mid tier.
Yeah,
probably.
that's fair. Jeremy's.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Grumpy Yeti says he usually has dubstep or EDM playing if he's not streaming. Yeah, that'll get you fired up for sure. Caden says anything and everything.
Mid tier says while he's racing, he just whistles to tunes in his head.
Jeremy, Caden just said, K-Love while you're racing sounds like a Jeremy thing. All right, man. Well, we've been on here long enough. Shane, close us out for the night.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did, all of you, because that was like the high that I've been looking forward to that all week, like ever since that event ended. Like I was talking to them before the event ended. I was messaging Garrett, and I'm like, if you guys pull this off, man, we're gonna have to have you, because I had already talked to them about setting up about our tech talk podcast, and I said, if you guys win this thing, we're gonna have you on 2 weeks in a row. And he's like, I am all for it. And I said, then go out there and get them. And they executed flawlessly, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You and I, one last thought. You and I were texting throughout that day, right? And the next day while they were still racing, and we had already had them planned to be on the show for because we knew they were racing in it, so we were going to talk briefly about that, but then go into their business and their products. And then they won, and we're like, okay, yep, gotta just
Yeah.
let's make it 2 weeks in a row, like you said. But yeah, it's kind of cool. We had already planned on having them on, so very cool.
Yeah. So, and I mean, having them on 2 weeks in a row, that's a win-win for me. I mean, like I said, I enjoy hanging out with them guys anyway. So,
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
it's yeah. So if you haven't picked up yet or not, next Tuesday it's gonna be kind of tech talk, sim racing tech talk. We're gonna go over, we'll talk about some peripherals. We'll talk about what kind of wheels we have, what we use, things like that, and and see see what you guys have, and then we're gonna have SM Racing Products that's gonna be here showing off their products, talking about their stuff, kind of giving us a little insight on what they do and how they do it. So I know some guys that have, so they do button boxes and some flag lights, and I'm not gonna give everything away, but those two they do, and maybe they'll give us some insight on how they do all that stuff. So, because I know some guys that run them, and I've seen pictures and videos of them, and they are fantastic. Can't wait to get one.
Cool. And on top of that, of course, we'll have your weekly coverage of Lucky Dog Racing Series. And we would have just finished up our race at Talladega, so we'll go into that, talk about how we did there. But yeah, next Tuesday, about the same time as tonight, 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern is when we go live for the 87 Top Dog Series race. And then immediately following, we take a brief 5-10 minute break and jump right into the podcast. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. Have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night, y'all. Really, really appreciate you hanging out. For those of you